What's up guys, welcome back to Toon Duelists. Today I'm going to show you one of my personal favorites, my scrap deck profile. I really fell in love with the look of all of those scrap cards, just love the steampunk vibe those cards give. And since we got Scrap Raptor, this deck also can be really powerful. So without further ado, let's go. Alright, we start off with the monsters and with our 3-offs. First off, we run 3 Scrap Searcher. Now this card is really great for basically all your combos because when a scrap monster you control except Searcher itself is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. If this card is special summoned, you have to destroy all face-up monsters you control except scrap monsters. Definitely have to keep this last effect in mind, but this card is really great. Next up, we run 3 copies of Scrap Goblin. Now, Scrap Goblin is basically here because it's a level 3 tuner, but also because it cannot be destroyed by battle. Of course, if this face-up defense position card is selected as an attack target, you have to destroy it at the end of the battle phase. If this card is destroyed by the effect of a scrap card and sent to the graveyard, you can select one scrap monster in your graveyard and add it back to your hand. Well, next up is the heart and soul of this deck. It's Scrap Raptor. Really awesome card that took this deck to another level. This card has the effect that you can target one monster you control, destroy it, and then gain another normal summon of a scrap monster additional to your normal summon or set this turn. And if this card is destroyed by the effect of a scrap card and sent to your graveyard, you can add a Scrap Factory or a non-tuner scrap monster from your deck to your hand. So this card basically starts all your combos. Next up is the card you will most likely search with Scrap Raptor, and it's Scrap Chimera. If it's normal summoned, you can select one Scrap Tuner from your graveyard and special summon it. So I guess you see where this goes. If you bring out Scrap Raptor, pop it by its own effect, then search a Scrap Chimera, normal summon Scrap Chimera with your additional normal summon, you can bring that Scrap Raptor, and then you can go into a rank 4 or into a link 2. Of course, you can also go into a Synchro 8, but you have to keep in mind Scrap Chimera can only be used as synchro material for the synchro summon of a scrap monster. So next up is our Scrap Orthros. This card is also really great. It can't be normal summoned, it can only be special summoned if you control another scrap monster, and if it's special summoned this way, you have to select one face-up scrap monster you control and destroy it. It has the same second effect as Scrap Goblin. Now, the reason we play this card is because it can be really handy with our Scrap Factory to trigger the effect of Scrap Factory before we go into our first link play. This is actually pretty important. I'll explain that in the combo video you'll find in the description. As important, or not as important actually, as our next 2-off, which is Scrap Golem. Now Scrap Golem is also really important for all of your combos because once per turn you can target one level 4 or lower scrap monster from your graveyard and special summon that target to either player's field. This card is insane, it's a soft once per turn, so you can do crazy stuff with this. And remember, this card in combination with your Scrap Searcher can also be devastating for your opponent because of course you can also target a Scrap Searcher, summon it on your opponent's side of the field, and because of Scrap Searcher's effect, he will have to destroy all the monsters on his field. And because the effect of Scrap Searcher targets your opponent, it does not target the monsters. It's not an opponent's effect in this moment because your opponent controls Scrap Searcher in this moment. There's basically not a lot of cards that are protected from this, so it's really a great destruction right here. And for the last monsters, we run 2 Ash Blossoms. That's it for the monsters. Let's go on with the spells. So first off, we run 3 copies of Scrapyard in our deck. This card is a great searcher. You can just add 1 Scrap Tuner from your deck to your hand. No once per turn, no nothing. Great card. And of course, we also run 3 Fossil Dig to add a dinosaur monster level 6 or lower from our deck to our hand. As you can see, I mentioned how important Scrap Raptor is for this deck, and with those cards you basically have 9 copies of Scrap Raptor, which gives this deck a decent amount of consistency. Next up, we run 3 copies of Scrap Factory. Scrap Factory is also very important for your combos, because if a face-up scrap monster on the field is destroyed by card effect and sent to the graveyard, except during the damage step, you can special summon one scrap monster from your deck. This card is also really great to bring out your golem directly from your deck, and this is also the reason we only run 2 copies of Scrap Golem, because we basically always summon him from the deck. We don't want to see it in our hand. The next 3 of we run is Scrap Storm. This card is really good because it lets you target one scrap monster you control, send one scrap monster from a deck to the graveyard, and then draw a card and then destroy the monster you targeted. Scrap Storm is basically stackable, so if you have 3 Scrap Storm in your hand or on the field, you can play all 3 of them and all of the effects will go off. So you will basically put 3 scrap monsters in your graveyard, we will draw 3 cards and the monster will be destroyed. But it's important to mention, if you use Scrap Storm on the Scrap Raptor, for example, and put Scrap Searcher in your grave, and when all the effects revolve, you won't be able to bring out your Scrap Searcher because the timing has passed. And it's also the same with Scrap Factory, but of course it's a great setup for your graveyard. Then of course we run 1 Terraforming. We run 1 Foolish Burial to set up our grave, 1 Called by the Grave, 1 Monster Reborn, also very important card in this deck to help you extend your plays. Then we also run 1 Double or Nothing. Of course, as you might be able to guess now, we want to run Utopia Double in this deck. And then the last spell is 1 Pot of Prosperity. Now guys, that's it for the spells. Let's go on with the traps. So for the traps, we run 3 Infinite Impermanence, and then we run 1 There Can Only Be 1. This card is really great in this deck because all of our scrap monsters have different types. They share the Earth attribute, but that's it. And this card, of course, can be a really big pain for your opponent. Now, that's it for the main deck. Let's move to the extra deck. For the extra deck, we start things off with the Synchro monsters, and the first one we're going to talk about is Naturia Beast. Now this card really is a beast going first, because when a spell card is activated, quick effect, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. This card is insane because it's no once per turn. If your opponent activates 5 spell cards, you can negate all 5 of them. This is crazy. Next up, we run our only Synchro 7, our Clear Wing Synchro Dragon. Now, once per turn when another level 5 or higher monster activates its effect on the field, quick effect, you can negate the activation and if you do, destroy it. And once per turn when a monster's effect is activated that targets one level 5 or higher monster on the field, quick effect, you can negate the activation and if you do, destroy it. If this card's effect destroys a monster, this card gains attack equal to the destroyed monster's original attack until the end of this turn. But to be honest, we won't play it that much, but it's also important to just like have the option to go into your Synchro 7 plays. Next up, we run Borrowload Savage Dragon. A great Omni-Negate right here, decent body also. A great card and basically the reason we run Scrap Goblin, to be honest. Next up, we run 1 copy of Scrap Dragon. You will maybe have situations where you only have your Scrap Chimera and your Scrap Raptor, and maybe your Link 2 won't do the job. Then Scrap Dragon is definitely a good choice in my opinion, because once per turn you can target 1 card you control and 1 card your opponent controls and destroy them. And when this card in your possession is destroyed by your opponent's card and sent to your graveyard, you can target 1 non-synchro scrap monster in your graveyard and special summon it. Next up is our level 9 synchro, which is Ravenous Croco Dragon Archithis. Now this card gains 500 attack and defense for each card in your hand, and you can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If this card is synchro summoned, you can draw cards equal to the number of non-tuners used for its synchro summon, and quick effect, you can discard 2 cards, then target 1 card on the field and destroy it. Now, definitely not the card we will play all the time, but there also will be situations where you have your Scrap Raptor and your Scrap Golem and nowhere to go, so this is your way out of this situation. Next up is our level 10 Baronne de Fleur. One great thing about her is that if you used the Omni-Negate of her, it's really good to like use the last effect of her. You can bring back Scrap Golem and then start off your whole combo again. And then we also have 1 level 11 option for the synchro plays, which is our Psychic and Punisher. Psychic and Punisher has the effect that while your life points are less than or equal to your opponent's, this synchro summon card is unaffected by opponents' activate its effects, and once per turn, you can pay 1000 life points and target a monster you control and one card your opponent controls and banish them. And at the start of the battle phase, you can make this card gain attack equal to the difference in your life points and your opponent's. Basically, it's a really big beat stick to like just finish the game off. Next up, let's talk about the Link plays. We run one Link Kuriboh. Now, Link Kuriboh is great to just bring one of our Scrap Searchers in the graveyard. It's just a good extender if you're about to go into a Link 2 and you have a Scrap Searcher as material on the field. Just go into Link Kuriboh first, just, you know, to be safe. And next up, we run 2 Scrap Wyvern. Now, Scrap Wyvern is also one of the important cards in all of your combos. It only needs 2 monsters, including a Scrap monster, and it has the effect that you can target a Scrap monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and then destroy a card you control. And if another face-up Scrap monster is destroyed by card effect while you control this monster, you can special summon a Scrap monster from your deck and then destroy a card on the field. Most of the time, what you're going to do is you summon out Scrap Wyvern, you bring back one of your Scrap monsters, and straight up pop the monster you brought back. Then the second effect of Scrap Wyvern will trigger, and you can bring out one Scrap monster directly from your deck, aka most of the time your Scrap Golem, and then pop a card on the field. Now, really good card. You just have to keep in mind going first, you might have to pop one of your own cards, maybe your Scrap Factory, maybe you want to set a spell that you don't really need at the moment to pop if you want to keep your Wyvern. Then we run one Nightmare Unicorn, then we have one Axis Code Talker, and then we also run one Appaloosa. Appaloosa is basically a card we can go in with only a Scrap Raptor and another spell in our hand. I'll show you this in the combo video, link in the description. Awesome card in this deck, of course. And then the last 2 are one Utopia Double and one number 39 Utopia. Now, sadly, I don't own Utopia Double at the moment. Now, Utopia Double has the effect that you can quick effect detach one material, add one double or nothing from your deck to your hand, special summon from your extra deck one Utopia Xyz monster, except Utopia Double, using this face-up card as material, and if you do, its attack is doubled, and you can not attack directly with this monster you summoned this way this turn. Now, it's basically your OTK, because if you use Utopia Double to bring out Utopia, its attack becomes 5000. Then if you attack with Utopia on an opponent's monster, you can negate your own attack, then use double or nothing, and then Utopia has 10,000 attack points, and bam, you win the duel. This is especially great because you can, for example, use Scrap Golem to bring out a Scrap Searcher on your opponent's side of the field in attack position. Scrap Searcher has only 100 attack points, and then you can go into your Utopia Double and win the game this way. Guys, that's it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed. I really like this Scrap deck. It's definitely one of my favorites, and I hope next time you hear about the Scrap cards, you don't only think of the Scrap engine in some dinosaur decks. This is a really decent deck and fun deck to play on its own, and it really actually has some great comeback potential. If you want to see how this deck performs, don't forget to check out the combo and test hand video in the description. And yeah, if you have some ideas, let me know in the comments. If you like the content, please consider to subscribe. This would really help us a lot. And guys, until next time, have a good one.